Hello, this is Michael Russ, and welcome to Beyond the 3D, the podcast and YouTube video that seeks to help you rise above, elevate yourself above the 3D world of drama and fear and worry. Today, we're going to talk about something incredibly important. In relationship, one of the most challenging things that you'll face is how to help your partner through their challenging situation. Well, my friend Glenn Brooks is an expert in this area, and we're going to talk about this today because what we want you to know is that dealing with helping your partner from the level of the problem is a challenge. When you step outside of it and see it from different angles, which we're going to talk about today and more, you can really make an impact. I'm going to let Glenn take it over because honestly, this is something that is so incredibly important for all of us to know how to do, how to approach our partners with kindness, sympathy, love, affection, and more. Glenn Brooks, take it away, my friend. I want to know about this.
Well, welcome. I'm really happy you're with us today. Boy, you know, there's two parts of our mind. I tend to think there's like a soul part of our mind, our soul mind within our rational mind. I'm making this today with Michael because I to this day, a lot of people know that I did a major series on the impacts of Lyme disease, preventing it, healing it, and major trauma for people is just a diagnosis. And this is true for Parkinson's, a whole bunch of things. Just the name itself conjures up certain images. My wife, Donna, in my heart, probably she'll always have a profound closeness to my heart. So what happened was, this is about 7 years ago, and I'm sharing this with you because you might know someone close to you that might be going through a crisis, a health challenge, and it disrupts the whole system. You know, it really impacts us. So I'm going to call this, I've been calling this her beautiful face, her beautiful face. About 7 years ago, I took Donna barefoot hiking at the Omega Institute, a beautiful holistic center in Rhinebeck, New York. And when we reflect on something that has deep meaning, it wakes it up in us. It brings us beyond the memory. It brings us into the moment. And it makes us get in touch with the heart of the matter. So her beautiful face. Soon after we returned back from barefoot hiking, probably within 2 to 3 months, Donna told me that she wasn't feeling well. And this began, in some sense, what you might call a nightmare. The nightmare was that we didn't really know what was happening. But at the time, I knew it was something very different. At the first, I couldn't get it. I couldn't get what was happening. I made a lot of mistakes, and I wasn't as kind and tuned in as I could have been. And initially what happened was we got some symptomatic relief. And what was happening too was I was getting in touch with how precious Donna was and is in my life. So the circumstance drew me out of myself to see what could be done, because I had a sense that the local doctors were not getting it, and they were suppressing it. So Donna would take certain medications, and I was doing a series at the time in Atlanta on healing oils. I do radio around the country, and they're very extensive series on well-being. And here I am in the situation, I have no idea what's going on, because Donna was burning a very high fever. She was feeling not good. She had pains in her back. I'd never been around someone who was that sick in that way. Now, one day I got up. She had 2 rounds of these antibiotics, and we started to do some natural protocols. But I could feel, and this is what I want you guys to catch, I could feel in my heart and my soul that something different was going on. And part of that difference was I had a sense that something was going to happen that was going to change our lives together. Now, I got up one summer morning and I looked at Donna's face. I call her beautiful, beautiful face now. And it was lopsided. At first I thought it was my eyes, but I moved around the bed and I realized, oh, it's her face. And my response that day was I really wanted to get out of the house, get out of the situation. Because I didn't know how to tell her about this, by the way. So we're driving and she pulls down the passenger, the sunscreen, the sun guard. And she sees her face, and she starts to see her face, and she realizes it's lopsided. And that day, she went into kind of a neurological meltdown. She started to get very upset because it was disrupting her. And that day, I actually called a doctor in Kentucky, Dr. Steve Johnson. I called another doctor who's out of the area, Dr. Stephen Bach. And he told me, he said, Glenn, here's my cell phone, here's my home phone. Because what you're telling me, there's only two things that Donna can have. One of them is Lyme disease. Let's treat her right now. And now, that was on like a Wednesday, and they wanted to do a spinal tap, which is a very invasive procedure where they kind of puncture to get into to test the synovial fluids, the fluids of the, that run up and down the spine, and to check what's in the system. And so I was sitting with her on Sunday night, and I was realizing that I was moving into this other place with her. I was coming in and out, but I realized a depth of love and appreciation, and part of that depth of love was I was seeing her beyond that appearance. I was starting to realize and getting in touch with just how much meaning and wonder she had in my life. And there was another aspect of me that was kind of the part of me that wasn't awake to her. Like in our lives, that's my computer phone ringing. In our lives, we have a part of us that sees things at a very rational level or a scripted level. And then as we wake up a little bit, we see beyond that. We start to get some seeing. And I started to see that I loved her in a way I didn't even know how to explain it. Now that night, we were supposed to go to the hospital the next day to get the spinal tap. And her beautiful face, her upper right eyebrow, started to have a little bit of movement. It hadn't moved in like weeks. She couldn't close her eyes at night. So I started to realize I need to see her and her beautiful face beyond the diagnosis and the appearance. And this was the beginning of, in our culture, we talk a lot about solo practices and me practices. We talk about meditating on our own. We talk about having our own practice. One of my practices was to see her face in the now and see the beautiful movement of her face. The expression and wonder of our face is that we move and we express through our face. And I really got in touch with the wonder and beauty and softness and gentleness of her face. And our cells, I'm going to stretch your minds, but our cells communicate to each other. It's not like we don't have a tremendous impact. They say we don't change other people. It is not true. We change other people profoundly by the way we listen, by the way we see them. If you really see someone and you see them beyond the script, the habitual, the usual, and you really see them, something happens often that's unexplainable, which is they begin to listen to that at a level that's deeper than their brain survival mind. So over the last month, and why I'm doing this video today with Michael is, there's more and more variety of ticks out there now. There's another whole level of strains are coming out. There's more fear about the impact of not just Lyme, but some of these small tick-like creatures that could impact us. And so the inner response is to be able to see the wonder and beauty that's there beyond diagnosis, beyond appearance, and that as their partner, you hold that for them. One of the practices is that you really hold your partner in consciousness and wonder beyond the appearance, beyond what the doctor says or doesn't say. And today I was actually tuning into this, and I hadn't seen Donna in a while. We hadn't been together in a while, but of course, every time I tune into her, she shows up in some way. So she showed up, And what I'm saying to you is that no matter what the diagnosis of the health condition, that your response to it and the way you see it makes a profound difference for the other person. So part of what happens in our lives is we have a, actually I was going to call this the reality makeover, because this reality makeover changed the way that it shifted me in a big way. So anytime something in our life, we had a profound recognition, we see things in a different way, we could recall that and put it in our heart and reference it. So this reference point that I had for Donna then and now is someplace that's very deep. So if your partner has the diagnosis, whether it's Parkinson's, whether it's any number of neurological injuries, including different stages of Lyme, I want you to see them moving. I want you to sit up and take 3 exhales and see them. Erase what you don't, what you might call the disease, erase that and see the wonder of them. And when you're with them, see that. Exhale, reference that in your body. And that will be contagious to your partner. And you'll begin a new life together. And the life you'll begin is a life of closeness and soul that you hadn't had before. So the crisis of illness is an opportunity for a doorway to soul, love, and harmony that you haven't had before in your relationship. So it's challenging and it's disruptive to the system it is. The response that you have as their beloved partner allows you both to go to another level, and it also has profound impacts on the Lyme, whatever the appearance of the disease is. And this is an uncommon conversation, and that's why I call it making a profound difference in your partner's life in uncommon ways. So the uncommon way is to see them is vital and healthy, and sing that to them.
That's beautiful, Glenn. That's absolutely beautiful. You put it so succinctly. The question I want to ask you is, because obviously there are pattern responses to anything. When you're in love with somebody, when you care about them deeply, whether it be your children, your significant other, your parents, when you hear about a diagnosis, and we were talking about this earlier today, the main response is fear and worry. And I'd love for you to address the concept of this pattern response and how to get beyond that pattern response of fear.
Well, yeah, we have fear. Our nervous system and our brain are constantly, in some ways, regulating our survival and the survival of people around us. And I guess there's a certain naturalness to dealing with shock and trauma. So dropping into this other level in yourself, this dropping in. When you drop into yourself, when you drop below the surface of your survival mind, survival brain, I'll call it soul mind, which includes your body, you can deal with the fear through relational spaciousness. So relational spaciousness is you're conscious of your partner, you're conscious of yourself, and there's this other place you could refer to. So as an example, when I was with Donna, it just touches me so deeply to tune into this. I could just start to see her in ways that it's almost like we were more in the room together than ever. Even though I joked that I was going to write a book called No One Left to Argue With. Because arguing stops. When really something profound's happening, you start to get to what's really real. I mean, this is what I get into in my book, Divorce to Patterns, Not Each Other. That when really what it comes down to, when you start to go into this other place, is what's relevant is all I cared about was seeing her move and have one moment of happiness, one moment of something. And it riveted my attention there. Did I slip back into worry? Did I slip? Many, many times. Terror, yes. But how I held it and the action that I had. I was saying to Michael the other day that I called and built the whole team around Donna. You know, at first it was a knee-jerk reaction. At first it was survival. But then what came up was dedication. Like, I didn't realize how dedicated I was to Donna, and I am to Donna. And that moved me. So when I would call people that I didn't know, Like I called a neurologist in Oregon. He's an anthroposophical neurologist, very soulful man. Anthroposophy was the whole spiritual system of seeing things. And he said to me something that day, because Donna was in the backyard laying on a white sheet on the lawn. And I was really in touch that day with, I guess you could say, my deep soul and heart was, I just loved her so much. I love her so much. And I said to the neurologist, I said, what can I do? Because he's a different kind of neurologist. And he said, Glenn, you need to do something that brings her will back in her body. Brings her will back in her body. Because when people get sick, we get disrupted, we lose our will. The more a person leaves their body through shock, through neurological trauma, the more it's like they don't really know what the body is. It's kind of like, if you can imagine, it's almost like an anesthesia, that the soul gets shocked. And he said to me this beautiful thing. He said, Glenn, you need to share something with her that brings her will back in her body. Now I'm sitting there, she's laying in the backyard, and I pick up this catalog. This isn't quite a catalog, but I pick up this catalog, and it's a catalog for earth shoes, kind of healthy shoe. And I bring it back to her, and I said, Donna, I want you to pick a pair of shoes that you love in this earth shoe catalog. And so she pointed to this red pair of shoes. And I said, Donna, this pair of shoes will be here over the next 48 hours. And she shook her head. And I said, okay, what are the simple things I could do to bring her will back in? I could hold her hand. I could make contact with her heart. So we wake up the will in that person so that the will to live, the will to bridge, because they don't, again, people, when they're in shock, they don't know what's happening. Because think about this, her whole life, Donna could close her eyes at night. We take for granted our neurological system is an ongoing dance of regulation, wonder, movement. And when we're disrupted from that, we go back to another state. And this is how we invoke and we can touch our partner by using our will. We can use our will, guiding them back to a place inside themselves and let them know we're 1,000% with them. So the earth shoes came. My funny story is that the earth shoes healed Donna, of course. Right?
That's an incredibly funny story. Shoes.
Yeah. So
I want to know something. I really, really do. How did Donna respond to what you were doing?
You know what's really interesting, Michael? That's such a good question. I guess honestly, I don't know. I don't know to this day. I don't know to this day if she remembers. I think the only thing she's ever reported to me that she said to me that touched and melted me down was that she was opening her heart to me. I think that was her only recognition. I know I can get that.
Would you say then that one of the most important aspects of this is releasing your attachment to having a response from the other person? In other words, you know what I talk about is that when we want something so much, sometimes we can inhibit it from occurring. It has to be a selfless thing that you're this is the impression I'm getting. This was a selfless act from you. It was a way that you were deepening your relationship. You were seeing the issues that she was going through, and supporting her in a completely different. I'm talking about way outside the box. I mean, I know the people listening and watching are going to learn a lot from this. If not for something occurring now, for something that may occur in the future. However, let's say that she, in this particular case, was, I mean, did you expect to see something from her? I guess that's really where I'm going with this. Did you expect to see something? And if you didn't see something, would that have made you, stop trying? I mean, because a lot of times people, when you're gripped by fear and you're trying something new, you want results. And if you don't get the results, and the interesting thing you said was you still don't know. Yet she did get through it. She did get out of it. So how do you put that together?
I love you bringing this up. It's such a good topic, and women and men discuss this. So here's what I want to say, Michael. I want to say how I saw this. If Donna was the shell and I was the fire, my fire, I guess my deep commitment and alignment was, it wasn't passive at all on my end. It was really whatever it took, whatever actions I needed to take, I would take them for her. So it wasn't nebulous. It was, if I needed to carry her, if I needed symbolically to carry her up a hill 3 times a day, I let that move through me. So it was a conscious move. It's kind of like it was a conscious practice of both being receptive but very definitive, because I think some of the confusion in some of the spiritual practices people have is they collapse.
Yeah.
You know, they kind of collapse and they're going to surrender. And no, I was like, you know what, if this doesn't work, we'll have this other thing. And I talked to this nutritionist and told me there was a product from Bulgaria that she needed. That was on the way.
Right.
So what I did in the day, Michael, is I practiced in between being terrified, fearful. I was working with a 100-year-old spiritual teacher, healer, Doris Crawford. And I would call Doris, and she would say, Glenn, right now, in this moment, drop in with me and feel that presence. And I would drop in with her, and I would feel that presence. And again, I would go back to being human Glenn with certain habits. But beyond all that, I was, in moments, the ground. Like, imagine you're in a holdup situation, and you just feel you're taken over, and it's like no one's going to get hurt around you. Done. And you're like, right. You are the fire. Then it's like, you know what?
You're in that space. You're in that presence.
Space. Yeah. So you know, here's the thing. Here's the funny thing. It's like in some ways in that space, I don't care what anybody thinks. It's kind of like, I'll give you a story. And what's funny about this is that there was another moment in our relationship where, you know, I think Donna was done with me. I think that she had lost. There was something happening, and there was a terrible blizzard in Maine, and all the hotels were full, all the emergency shelters. Like each moment, something was shutting down in Maine. And I said to Donna, even though I knew she didn't believe me, I knew she didn't care what I thought. I said, Donna, tonight you are going to be sleeping somewhere safe and warm, and you're going to be taken care of tonight. And she, you know, she was almost like, screw you. Or like, I don't know what she thought, but she was like, I'm saying something to her, and she's watching all the appearances, shut hotels, state police. And I'm saying this to you guys because I want you to know, this collapsed idea that, you know, that the influence is going to help you, and particularly if you're a man, you know, the masculine has gotten a lot of bad play over the last, I don't know, wow, 30 years, whatever. Homer Simpson is one of our worst examples. The deepest part of me that never even knew what the masculine was, you know, I said, dang it, she's going to be in a beautiful room tonight. And I began a series of dialogues, discussions with the security guy at Bates College. And I said to myself, I'm going to be whatever I need to be to listen to this guy, to revere this guy. He's my most significant person. And I said, tell me about the college. And he goes, everything's shut, Mr. Brooks. I said, please call me Glenn. I said, everything. I go, there's no open rooms. He goes, there's only one room that I know. That's where dignitaries come. People of high importance come to the school. Our speakers, people like Al Franken, dignitaries. And I said, tell me about the room. He goes, well, there's a fireplace. There's a huge bed. I want to say by our 4th conversation, and I really want to say this, that I just saw in my deepest mind, Michael, that Donna was going to be in that room, and that it was going to be a blessing and a great thing for me and the guy. And I called back Donna, and I said, Donna, you know what? When you get to Bates, you have this room. And I don't know if she believed in what she thought, but she was in that room. And I think the toughest part, and I go into this in Divorce Dependence on Each Other, I kind of felt, it was almost like there was nothing I could do to touch her. And yet what happened to me as a human being was I started to realize that another aspect of myself showed up. And that aspect I didn't even know was there. And that aspect is really just Glenn as the fire, as someone who's going to melt what's necessary to show up. So if I go into a hospital room, it's kind of like, yeah, if I'm really in touch with their being, I live and breathe from the fact there's gonna be shifts. I don't know when, I don't know how.
Yeah.
I'm gonna drop into something that's beyond Glenn, beyond Glenn the personality. And I want to say it's been a place where I trust and live in that in a way now I haven't before.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still here's the thing, it has a mystery, but don't let the mystery distract you from taking this action.
Yeah.
Like taking the action. And so, yeah, I mean, I would say that the thing that I would like to share in this lifetime, I've had these deep dreams, I've had these things around, like the idea of Donna's beautiful face has come to me when I'm shopping, it's come to me when I'm driving, and I take that in, and I just let it fill my being, I let it fill my emotion. I really discovered how to cry probably 6 years ago. I'd be at the edge of crying, and then I went over the edge one day with my daughter, and it was like, wow, that's kind of an interesting edge. And so there's more of a sense of, there's more there, and it's not because I read it, it's not because I'm knowledgeable, it's like I'm more willing to kind of go with it, notice it, and see how it impacts. And at the same time, when a person's in crisis, the whole system falls apart. So a lot of times you're dealing with the hospital, you're dealing with doctors, you're dealing with naturopaths, who you're dealing with, they have a certain focus on that illness. And I'm saying what I want you to do, I'm inviting you to do, is to root in them and see them and speak to them beyond the script of that. So see if it's their arm, whatever it is, the appearances come with a certain death sentence. And that death sentence, I don't want, that's nothing, I want you to see that person, and if they're not able to breathe into their left lung, breathe into their left lung. Touch their lung. Feel the quality of that lung. Use your lung and your presence to make a connection to that person so that you become the breathing chamber for them and you become the passage point, because again, anytime a person's in shock, they're shocked and disconnected from their body. So let them know by touch that you're there. Touch them emotionally, touch them with your presence, and often you could use your hands and caress them, hold them as often as you can, because the body disconnects. And her beautiful face was also a corrective exercise, because I knew at some point I said something about her face that wasn't honoring. And to be so humbled and to see the wonder of her feminine face was a correction. And we need corrections. And I had a wonderful discussion about regrets and mistakes. So a humble regret, where you're open to seeing something new, is beautiful. So I went through my own fear. I had just met this man, actually. He wrote a book called To Be Healed by the Earth, who was dying. He had a parasite. He laid on the earth, and his whole life changed. He could see people's auras. But at the same time, the woods became an enemy. Why did the woods become an enemy? Well, because dang it, there's a lot of ticks in the woods. And so I went through this dilemma, and I also wanted to support Donna 100%. And so the passage that we had of our pure heart passage, beyond whatever else was going on, I mean, around this was a lot of confusion, around this was fear. But the moments of, oh my God, she could close her eyes on her own, and I could be part of that. I could feel her eyes shifted things in a fundamental way. Now, the next stage of this, there's always stages. The next stage was I went through another stage of survival and fear around her that I needed to go through, I guess, because I did. And my only prayer would have been that we went through that next stage together. And my prayer now is that you'll take this that I'm sharing with you. You'll see beyond the script of the appearance of the diagnosis or the crisis. And this will lead you as a couple, as a family, to another level of genuine love and going beyond this divorce, this division that can easily occur. As a matter of fact, I just got an email because I was reaching out to this doctor friend of mine, and he just had and Michael knows this guy too. It's a heart doctor who just had a terrible breakup with his partner, and it disrupted his whole life. My prayer is that this when you see crisis and disruption in a different light, It will deepen your relationship. It will contribute to healing, and you'll have this level of intimacy. So when this appearance passes, which it will in some way, that's often beyond us, but to practice these energetic visualizations, to see them as being well, and particularly to be as hands-on as you can, you'll start to learn to use your hands like a healer. We're all meant to use our hands and our being like healers. We somehow have diverted it to the medical profession, to nurses. No, you, relationally. You know, I learned this with my son early on. I didn't realize, he's like when I massaged his feet. We need to make contact with the body. It's not enough to be online and send an article. That's great. This touching with our consciousness, with our vision, is contagious and will heal and touch your partner in profound and deep ways and affect the both of you and the whole system of the family.
That's absolutely beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. I couldn't have put shift your perspective any better than that. You know, it's about shifting perspective, and you've just described how you shifted your perspective in this situation, and to me, it's textbook beautiful. Is there anything else that you'd like to add? Anything else you'd like to tell our audience or viewers or listeners about your situation and about something that they can do? Because, you know, like I say, we've talked about getting beyond the fear, and you put it eloquently. There's the diagnosis of whatever it is or the challenge that you face. Then there's the fear and worry and concern, and maybe possibly even anger that comes up, dealing with the how and the why, which have really nothing to do with the situation, and prevent you from stepping outside of it. Now, you know, we've also discussed, and you put it quite eloquently again, you know, how to deal with that issue of whether or not we should expect that what we're doing works. And the thing that I get from this more than anything else is that you put your heart, your soul into it, your body, your energy into helping Donna get past this situation, to move through it. And the most beautiful thing about that is you weren't looking for a result, you were doing. The result came, you were just doing. You were in the not even in the, I don't want to say in the trenches, but you were there, you were committed, you were in the moment, you were dropping into the situation and doing what you needed to do. And I think that's important for people to know. And again, you put it so well with this particular story, Her Beautiful Face. Is there anything that you think beyond that our public needs to know, the audience needs to know?
Well, I think forgiveness in your couplehood, in your relationship. I think forgiveness is an active practice. I think that as I go over Her Beautiful Face, and as I see more in my life, I keep asking for correction so I could see and implement. Clearly, I think what this brought up to me too is all the times I put my pain and my ideas ahead of Donna's, like the things that I just didn't know, Michael, the things that I didn't see. So I think there's an aspect of ongoing, you know, there's a silly song by with Justin Bieber, and I think he says on this, it's about apologizing, and he says, well, maybe I've done this thing once, twice, maybe 3 times, and he goes, maybe a couple hundred times. So usually we're unconscious, then we get smacked or something, and then time we do it again. And I feel like with Donna, I see that I just didn't see it. I didn't see certain things, and I feel blessed to have the opportunity to begin again and see again. And so when you go through this, because you're going to start to see things. When there's a crisis in the system, be as forgiving and reverent for you and your partner, and use it as a new beginning to dissolve the division and realize you've come this far. And that process is, you know, to make the connection, number one, and realize you're going to go through different places, and just be as forgiving and forgive her body, forgive your body. Like, really realize that it looks like you're being assaulted, and realize you're not the target of an assault. You're going through a process of wonder and beauty that's not revealing it. Don't let that get in the way of you seeing it. And I guess what I want to say for my soul is I deeply, deeply love and appreciate, I'm in love with Donna at all levels. And what this taught me was seeing another whole level of what could be. And that's what the gift of illness and crisis is in our lives. And by the way, reach out to soul guides, reach out to people so that you could actually, because this is what I'm sharing with you is an uncommon response. I want this uncommon healing response to be part of your life. And if I could assist you, discover with you, and connect with you around this, I'd be totally honored.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Glenn, how can our audience reach you?
The simplest way, I'll give you my website, which is Vibrant Living Connections. Vibrant Living Connections. And I'm going to be giving courses and seminars on this. Because there's nothing like when we rub our souls together, we put our mind out of the equation and say, okay, maybe there's this. Or another way to put it, Michael, is that we're using some kind of alchemy. We're taking this, turning coals into a diamond.
Well, I want to encourage our audience to absorb this and keep it at the top of your mind, because you really need to, this is not only something that you deal with during crisis, it's something that you practice on a daily basis in smaller ways, in smaller situations. And it is always awesome to be able to have the gift, and this is a gift that you can give yourself, to shift your perspective. The gift is a shift in perspective. I say in Zero Diversity,
be curious.
Perception is everything. Yeah, be curious.
Be curious. Be empty. Just keep beginning. Exhale as often as you can. Exhale.
Right.
Exhale.
To breathe.
Again.
Yes.
And you know what? Don't touch your partner. Make that contact. We're changing chemistry with touch.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Well, I really want to thank you, Glenn, for this, because the stories are awesome. You're so wonderful to be vulnerable for us, and I consider that's what this has been, is a session of you opening up for our audience, and hopefully they'll take this and be able to apply it in their own lives. That's the whole idea behind this, because we all want to elevate ourselves beyond pattern behavior and dealing with things to the level of the problem. And this has given us another path to moving beyond challenges and problems that we face in our life. And I do want to thank you for that, and say that this has been Beyond the 3D, an episode with Michael Russ and my very special guest and co-host on many occasions, Glenn Brooks, with Vibrant Living Connections. And you can reach me through social media, Michael J. Russ, at Michael J. Russ through Twitter. Please follow. You can go to my website, michaeljruss.com. All of my social media is up in the top right corner. On YouTube, it's Beyond the 3D. And I thank you so much. And do want to thank those of you who are listening and to the podcast from the various countries around the world, like New Zealand and Australia and China and Singapore, Malaysia, Europe. It's awesome. Thank you so much. We love to hear from you. And until the next episode of Beyond the 3D, I want to say thank you very much. And Glenn, you always have something awesome that you say.
I love my two children, Nisha and Michael, so much.
I know you do.
Your life's precious. Your life's precious. Enjoy. And thanks. We love your feedback, because exploring this together can only bring more awareness and meaning. So thank you.
Absolutely so. Thank you so much. Until next time, again, this has been Beyond the 3D. Take care.